It's episode 23 of the Toadstool Boardroom for the week of November 9th, 2022. My name's Logan Plant, joined today by Odell Harmon Jr.
Hey, everybody.
Chris Schreiber.
Boy.
This is not a PlayStation podcast.
Oh,
it is God of War Ragnarok. Chris is playing that. I'm playing a different game out this week, Sonic Frontiers. We're going to talk about that a little bit later in the show because it is on Nintendo Switch. But first, quick plug. If you didn't listen to last week's show, it's a really good one. We talked to the developer of Aero GPX, spiritual successor to F-Zero. Odell was not on it, but Chris and I are there, and it was a ton of fun, wasn't it, Chris?
I had a phenomenal time. What a nice young man.
Right? Yeah.
He is. I had such a good time talking to Mr. Aaron.
Go check out Aero GPX, and next week's show is a big one. It's the 10th anniversary of everybody's favorite Nintendo console, the Wii U, and we're going to be doing a 10th anniversry spectacular show.
It's better than you remember.
It's worse than I remember. I remember it very fondly. I know it's not as good as I remember it, but we're going to be talking all about the Wii U on next week's show, so look forward to that. In the meantime, a ton happened this week. There's a lot to get to in the world of Nintendo, including, really? You don't think? Look at this document, Chris. Look at this document.
There's certainly a lot of words on this document.
Yeah, wow, way to sell the show to the viewers.
I'm kidding. No, there is a lot here. There's a lot to unpack here. There's a lot of statistics for Logan to chew on.
There are.
There's a lot of stats. Logan's going to try to bleed one of these stats for all it's worth, but we'll get into that.
And we're going to spoil Pokemon Scarlet and Violet for Odell because the leaks are out there, and we're just going to throw them all up on the screen at once.
We're not going to
share them.
I would leave.
We're not going to spoil Pokemon.
I would just exit.
We are not going to spoil any of the Pokemon leaks. But let's get into Nintendo's financial results that happened earlier this week. This is from the last quarter of 2022, Q3 of 2022. The Switch has reached 114 million sold. Switch software is at 917 million. We're going to cross a billion units of Switch software.
Wow, that's
a statement.
How many of those are Bouncy Bob?
Has any other console ever done that?
They had
That's
to
a good
have.
Question.
They had to have. Xbox 360? Come on.
I don't know, because there's
You think it did a Billy? You think it did a Little Wayne?
There's a lot cheaper games now, and digital games too. You can you click the shop icon, you're probably impulse buying something.
If not 360, PS4 has a ton of games, or Wii for that matter.
Just figure this out. But
this should be very easy. I'm gonna look.
All right. Nintendo did reduce their forecast for Switch hardware by 2 million units for the rest of the fiscal year, which ends March 31st, 2023. Part of that is due to production. Part of it is slowing down a little bit. The Switch is, I think last year was maybe its peak. We've talked about that. Now it's trickling down a little bit, and maybe we're going to start entering time for the next hardware cycle. Switch OLED is selling the most, 3.5 million in the last quarter. The Switch sold 2.2 million in the last quarter, and the Switch Lite, 920,000. Also, Nintendo said that a third of current Switch adopters are already previous owners, updating to the OLED hardware.
Doesn't surprise me at all.
Not at all. Speaking of which, Odell, you just upgraded to a Switch OLED.
I did. They finally got me with the Pokemon Edition, which looks beautiful.
Do you have it in
person?
Reach?
Damn, I do not.
Dang it. What do you think?
Well, it's because now that my Switch is in the living room, I can put this Switch in my computer room. I have 2 docks. I'm living that 2 dock life, and I can't go back.
You can just move it between them.
No, that's silly. That's just silly. My second dock is right there.
No, move the Switch between them. Not move the dock between the TVs.
Oh,
I saw you still had your old.
Yeah,
Switch
I could do that, but the OLED has that nice little space where the screen doesn't touch the dock, and the old dock doesn't have it. So now I'm worried about if I put my OLED in my old dock, will it jack up the screen?
Plus, the OLED dock has that Ethernet port, and I know you can put a dongle on the original one, but then it doesn't close all the way unless you get a specially sized one. It's a whole nightmare. I'm not putting an extension cord on it. No.
Yeah.
Tiny cables in this house.
Okay.
My cable management is horrible. I don't care. I sleep just fine at night, people.
Anyways, how's the OLED? What do you think of the upgrade?
I'm the type of guy that's like, marginal improvements, it's never worth it. This is a significant improvement on everything that's not the TV. I'm like, one of the things I never did before was use the kickstand because the kickstand was flimsy, and I'm like, that thing is gonna break, and then my Switch is gonna fall, and I'm gonna be upset. This kickstand is like the entire backside. It's stable. Like I shook a table with it on it, and it was like perfectly stable. I was like, the Joy-Cons slightly bigger. Better for my hands. I'm like, ooh, I can play with Joy-Cons now. Thank you very much. Also, the screen is I don't know. I feel like they're bigger.
It's the same.
I feel like they're bigger. That's what I feel in my heart.
I'm glad you feel that way. It's not true. So the Switch itself is like a tiny bit wider.
It's like marginally wider.
Yeah, marginally wider.
It feels better in my hands. I can't explain the way I feel, guys. But
it's fair.
The screen, okay, I know people said the screen was better, blah, blah, blah. But no, it is like night and day better. It is like HD better. It is, I can't, like, it makes me, like, I know the Steam Deck is cool, but like, if you compare like the Steam Deck to the Switch OLED, I feel like they're just as good, like screen and clarity wise. I'm like, because I've seen the Steam Deck and I saw this, I'm like, oh, this is good. This feels like a choice piece of hardware. This didn't feel like I just bought a $389 Pokemon cover Switch. It felt like I legit bought a better Switch in every way. And I transferred everything from my Switch internal hard drive and on the micro SD to my OLED Switch and still have over half the space available. So hallelujah to that.
Nice. It really is a huge upgrade. Chris and I both talked about it on the show. It's just, I think it's my favorite piece of Nintendo hardware ever. I am just obsessed with that machine. I play it in handheld all the time. It's really great. Glad you're upgraded to the OLED gang. Only for them to announce a new Switch next year.
I'm gonna say something crazy. I might have to cancel the Analog Pocket if they announce like GBA on the Switch, because I was like Analog Pocket, but now that I have an OLED, I'm like, maybe I don't need it no more. I don't know.
If there are any obscure titles from the Game Boy library, or really like any older like retro console library that you are interested in playing, the screen on the Analog Pocket is absolutely bananas. Like, it is insane how good the screen on that thing is. But you also have the Game Boy form factor.
It is true.
The Switch OLED is great. I wish I could play all those games on it, but I mean, the Analog Pocket has become, just me personally, has become my old console Switch at this point. Like Neo Geo, SNES, NES, all that. My wife is here. Hello.
Yeah. The elaborate on Chris saying the form factor does matter, because at the end of the day, I still cannot put a Switch in my pocket.
Yep, yeah, it's true. But and also the Switch Online, it's really, I can't play those games on there. The border is so ugly. The border is just it ruins it for me.
They really need to let you turn that off. Like I do play a lot of N64 games on the Switch OLED. I will say that. I don't know why, but
because Banjo-Kazooie's on there.
I got I 100%ed it.
You know what? Sidebar, Chris, because you're the G-this. If you get an Analog Pocket again, just sell me yours, because the website hates me, and I'm gonna be queued up forever, I guess.
Well, that's where they're at now. So if you want to get any analog hardware at this point, you're buying it now to get it in 2023 in like Q3 and 4.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's how they do it.
Just break into Chris's house. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do it.
Don't tell them to do that.
I'm gonna. Not the listener, me. Okay. Don't do it, because it'll already be gone by the time.
Yeah. You're just wasting your time at that point.
Yeah. And going to jail. Okay. Let's get back to the financial results here. Chris just posted an interesting one in our news Discord.
Yeah.
That Amiibo have sold 77 million. I think that this panel is responsible for about 15% of that.
Easily.
Yeah. 77 million worldwide. The Splatoon Amiibo come out on Friday, so
do they? Oh my god, they do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, they do. That's so many Amiibo figures. And then we got some sales for some games that came out in 2023. I was very wrong about Splatoon 3. It has sold over 7.9 million units. It's going to cross that 10 million threshold. I said I didn't think it would. Not even close. 5 million in Japan alone, which is absolutely insane. That is crazy.
Bonkers.
It's already in the top 25 best-selling games in Japan of all time after 2 months
Ooh.
on the market.
Okay.
That's pretty crazy.
Wait,
Nintendo Switch Sports,
wait. Say that again?
it's in the top 25 best-selling games in Japan of all time.
On
already.
any console?
Ooh.
On any console ever.
Ooh.
That can't be right.
5
It
million.
doesn't sound right, but
I feel like that's really low.
I don't know. I think it's a lot.
No,
if you think-
but like of all time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're talking every
okay.
console.
How about this? What number is it on that list? Because if it's like 24, it's like, okay.
Yeah, it's the bottom of that list.
Yeah,
it's
but
barely
still.
on it. Yeah.
I'll look this up. I don't believe you.
All right. Yeah, I don't have it written here.
This is just the fact checker today.
Yeah.
Did you ever find out how many pieces of
I
software?
can't find nobody did that statistic. I think you're just throwing numbers. I think you're making up these numbers.
I'm not. I promise. I'm not. Don't you trust me at this point? We're 23 episodes in.
I don't know. You're gonna rob me of my analog pocket.
Oh,
Why should I trust you?
no. Okay. All right. Anyway, sales for 2023 games. While Chris looks this up, Nintendo Switch Sports has passed 6.15 million. I have said on the show that thing is going to cross 10 million. It's going to be an uphill climb to get there, given that it's at 6 million. It has its first holiday season ahead, though. Mario Strikers Battle League, everyone's favorite game in the Boardroom, 2.17 million. Xenoblade Chronicles 3, 1.72 million.
Really? That's surprising. Mario Strikers outsold Xenoblade? Okay.
Oh, really? That's not surprising at all. Anything with Mario is going to outsell.
I mean,
the third game in a niche JRPG series.
The way the internet talked about Xenoblade made me think people were buying 2 and 3 copies. Now I know that it's not true.
Yeah. Metroid Dread only sold 2.9 million. Like, quality and quantity don't always line up. And then Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes sells 1 million units. The top 10 has been updated, and Odell, we were talking about this on Twitter. Animal Crossing New Horizons has passed 40 million units. It's the best-selling game in Japan of all time at 10.45 million units.
All right.
The floor is yours.
See, this is making me think all the more reason why the successor won't do as good, because it outsold Red, Blue, and Yellow. Like, another game's not going to just come and outsell Red, Blue, and Yellow in Japan.
Okay,
like,
so here's the thing. Here's the thing to counteract that point. Also, I'm on the article with this number, so you can stop looking.
No, I found it. I can't believe you're right.
Yeah.
That's insane to me.
Yeah, that's the biggest flex I've seen all day. I'm on the article with this number. Like,
the thing that blows me away is like, and I wonder, this has to be just Nintendo. Like, how has no Sony game?
Because they don't sell PlayStations very well in Japan. They just don't. The PSP was huge. But other than that, Nintendo consoles are always way bigger.
That is
than anything
insane
else.
to me. Wow.
Yeah.
All right. I'll shut up.
It's in the top 20, not even the top 25.
Yeah.
It's in the top 20.
Oof.
Anyways, so Pokemon Red, Blue, and Green was the top selling game in Japan. Number 2 is Pokemon Gold and Silver, also known as the sequel to Pokemon Red, Green, and Blue. So I'm telling you, Animal Crossing New Horizons is number 1. The sequel to Animal Crossing will be somewhere on this list. And that's only Japan. Anyways.
I can't, like, that. Okay, that was such a light. Okay, you got, Pokemon. First of all, that was the first entry. We are down. We are much past the first entry in Animal Crossing. Like, for example, I can't imagine any Pokemon game ever in the history of Pokemon getting next to Gold and Silver and Red and Blue. And if it does, it's literally a Game of the Year contender, if not Game of the Year. That's the only way that's ever happening in the Pokemon's library. Animal Crossing is knee deep in its, cycle. I can't. That's just lightning in a bottle, man. You can't. You're not getting that again. At least not the next game.
What are Pokemon Red and Blue's worldwide sales numbers?
I don't know, something stupid.
Chris is on the research team tonight. He's our man in the chair.
He is our man. He's the guy in the chair.
Yeah. Yeah, because I don't know. I'm telling you, Scarlet Violet's
31.38 million units.
Oh, Scarlet Violet's going to smash that. It's going to be the best-selling Pokemon. I'll make that bet right now. Sword and Shield sold 25 million.
I think
25.
I think reviews will make or break Scarlet and Violet for people of my and Odell's generation. Like if it doesn't review well, because I think a lot of people our age feel burned by Sword and Shield.
Oh God, I feel burned.
Yeah,
You can throw my age in there too. I'm not,
sure.
I'm not
It is
14
better than
years old
Sun and
over here.
Moon. I need to have a podcast to explain to people. It is better than Sun and Moon. You should have felt this
Not this
anger at
one.
Sun and Moon. Okay.
Were you done, Chris?
I thought you were going.
I thought he was going.
I loved. Well, not this one. It's like, dang, just drop the hammer right on him. All right.
Well, that's because Sword and Shield is not.
I was gearing up. I was gearing
It's
up.
not. You can't convince me.
I just imagine-
Maybe we do need to have this out.
I imagine
Not
Odell
today.
doing that move that Henry Cavill does in Mission Impossible, where he's like, just like getting his fist ready.
I reload my fists.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe we need to have an episode dedicated to Pokemon Sword Shield versus Pokemon Sun and Moon.
You know, I will say,
This
I
comes
think
up way
Scarlet.
more than it should.
I know.
I think Scarlet and Violet maybe will smash some records because
Yeah.
their advertising up into this game has been immaculate. Like 10 out of 10. Like everything they've done up until leading up to this game has been wonderful.
I'm glad
Like
they're
from a
not.
marketing
6 out of 10
standpoint.
game.
I'm glad they're not showing anything else. Like I'm at a point now where they're like we've gotten a lot of trailers, and I think they've shown off a lot. But like I'm ready. Like just let the game come out. I'm
Yeah.
finally there.
Yeah.
I'm glad that the final trailer was just that horrible song by Ed Sheeran and like, you know, a clip show. Yeah, I said what I said.
Oh, I thought that was so fun.
You have to watch the video version.
The video
on
version is
YouTube
great.
Or Spotify, the
Yeah.
Total Boardroom, because Chris just has some outstanding facial expressions. Yeah.
Oh, you
And
just
that was
mean of the
one them.
podcast.
Yeah, of the podcast.
Oh, I thought you meant Ed Sheeran.
No, I don't care.
That
if you
song
watch
is
that. I care
not
if you watch
nearly as
this.
good without the music video, for the record.
Okay. I was gonna say, you think many people are going on listening to the audio version of this Ed Sheeran song?
I mean,
Ed Sheeran dropped a new Pokemon song. Let me log on to Spotify. And
Well, that's exactly what I did. I logged into Spotify, and there was a little cartoon of Ed Sheeran with Pikachu, and I was like, what's going on? And then I went and I listened to it, and then I watched the video.
Okay. Sorry.
Call me
That's
out
my
left
bad.
and right today. It's crazy.
Long story short, the next Animal Crossing game ain't selling over 25 million copies. I forgot what I said.
20 was the benchmark.
Okay,
That is
20, yeah.
And you're
Yeah.
starting to sweat over there a little bit
No,
already.
I'm not starting to
Here's
sweat.
that on this.
I'm not. It's not. You know what? I can't wait for them to announce what it is and watch it be like Animal Crossing NFT or something. I'm like,
It's the next main line. It's we talked about this.
no, the next
It's
main line
on
will
the
be
record.
Animal Crossing NFT. Like, I don't know.
Okay. Whoa, what is this episode today? My last piece on Pokemon is that I think that the open world bump, regardless of quality, is going to push this thing over the 30 million mark. Sword and Shield did 25 million. It had the wild area. It's not an open world game. You see this bump in every franchise. Sonic's experiencing it right now. On Steam, the constant concurrent players is like over quadruple what it ever reached for Sonic Forces. And it's just a product of the open
Sonic
world
Forces
interest.
is a not so great game.
Sonic Forces is a terrible game that I've beat 4 times. And we saw it with Zelda also, Breath of the Wild, selling 25 million units. Like, the open world bump is going to happen with this game, and I think it's going to be the best-selling Pokemon. I'll say it now. It would be helped by a third version. I don't know if they lump that in, though.
And better grass
I don't know if they
textures.
lump that in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. We haven't had a third version in a while. I wonder if they're just dropping that.
Nintendo, yeah, they are. They said with Sword and Shield, because they just do the DLC now.
I feel like it's a
And
big,
the repackaged
yeah,
stuff.
like it's a big ask, and like there's not really a reason for it now because of
Yeah.
DLC.
These JRPGs need to start doing that. Like Dragon Quest and Persona, that each have their expanded
Persona?
editions. Yeah.
I'm never buying a new Persona game at launch ever again. I'm so tired of playing like 15 hours of Persona game, and all of a sudden, get the next one. It's got 30 more hours of content. Start over from the
And
beginning.
not only 30 more hours of content, 30 more hours of content that is pretty much canon and you need to play.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Okay.
Okay.
Nintendo spoke about their 2023 calendar.
Mm.
Nothing we don't know, but Advance Wars lives another day. It is still on this list as TBA. Not canceled yet, boys. It's still here. Advance Wars 1-2 Reboot Camp and Metroid Prime 4 are the 2 TBA games that they're not even attaching a year to. So we'll see. if that game ever comes out. That's
Man, I pray Metroid Prime 4 is in a good place. I hope it's not on like life support.
How funny would it be if they just held Advance Wars for the launch of the next console at this point?
I'll be cool with that.
I don't think they will. They've already printed the cartridges and everything, but that would be fun. Yeah.
I mean, the next one could be backwards compatible. We don't know. It probably won't be. Nintendo's not about that.
It will be. It will be. It absolutely will be.
It probably won't be.
Man, Odell, I need to make like 100 bets.
Okay, all right, Logan. Seriously, on this one, logically, I'm like, yes, it should be. Everything points to it should be, but it's Nintendo. It's Nintendo.
You know what they'll do? Because I collect everything physically, they'll be like, your digital library is backwards compatible, and I'll be like,
oh my gosh.
I'll lose my explicit as well if they did something like that.
Yeah.
Speaking of digital, Nintendo's making a new push to help their digital efforts by partnering with mobile company DNA, which you'll probably recognize that name as the company they partner with to develop most of their mobile games, Super Mario Run, Animal Crossing Pocket Camp, others of the like. And they're creating a new joint venture company called Nintendo Systems. And the purpose of this company is for, quote, research and development, as well as operations to strengthen the digitalization of Nintendo's business, in addition to the creation of value-added services. Nintendo also, quote, entrusts DNA with the joint development and operation of membership services for various devices. So this is pretty vague, but it's a new company that Nintendo is a huge stakeholder in, along with DNA. And it sounds like that they're going to maybe be revamping their online service, to me, with help from this other company who made their mobile games. I don't know what to make of this. Chris, what do you make of this?
I have no idea. Like, part of me is like, okay, maybe they're developing some kind of app that you can use. I always go back to Universal, like the Nintendo World. Part of me is wondering if it's that. I don't see them doing anything like, we're going to publish Nintendo games on Steam, and it's going to be this totally unique experience. I think they're looking at like what they've done with Splatnet. Like, we joke about it, but like, all kidding aside, like, that is an awesome feature of Splatoon 3, and I think they need to figure out a way to get that, like, Logan showing Splatnet 3.0. They need to figure out a way to get more systems like that integrated into the games that they are developing for.
Or a store. Throw a store on the Nintendo Switch Online app.
Or a store. I mean, I used to, when I like was really into PlayStation, would spend a lot of time just like looking at the sales and like, you know, in their app.
They're on eBay. It makes sense.
Yeah, Steam, like, and yeah, now I'm on eBay. Because I have to be, you know.
I hadn't thought about that before the show, but now I totally think that's what they should do with this. There's no reason that part of the Nintendo Switch Online app shouldn't be a store.
I mean,
you can download things straight to your Switch.
The only argument I would make is that, like, maintaining an app with updates and things like that is a lot more work than just updating the site, which you can do all that on anyway. Like, the mobile site.
That's why they're partnering with this mobile company.
No, I know.
They're
but
gonna do something.
The mobile site is fine. It's just like, I feel like, I don't know, unless it does something really unique, like, what are we doing?
Yeah. Odell, you got anything to add here?
I'm thinking, so I play Pokemon Go. Like, I didn't play it for like 2 years. There was a 2-year break. I didn't play it, and I started playing it again. Like a year break. Point is, a lot of Nintendo apps, from what I've experienced, is Nintendo hires these companies, they make the app, and there's basically like zero oversight, as in they kind of suck. And like, we just have to deal with the problems, and the company is usually like tiny, so they don't have the capacity or bandwidth to deal with all the problems. And, you know, we end up with subpar products, but the IP itself drags it along. Like with Pokemon Go is a horrible app.
Keep in mind, Pokemon Go is with the Pokemon Company and Niantic. Nintendo really has very little to do with that one. That wasn't one of their published mobile games. Anyways.
Yeah. Well, let's see. But my thing is, like, Niantic ran Pokemon Go, right? Like, not like any problems fixing it. Like, the Pokemon Go wasn't fixing it. Nintendo Niantic, you know, was fixing it. And with these other mobile games, I feel like, you know, it falls on that mobile game company. And what I'm hoping is with this DNA thing is like, they're making a structure to where their mobile games will have the support they need to succeed as a mobile game outside of the IP just dragging it along. Like, for example, being like Mario Kart when it first launched, you're racing against bots. It really wasn't all that, and it was just kind of like, but everyone's like, we like Mario Kart, so we'll just deal with it. But I feel I'm hoping they're taking that and be like, okay, we don't want people just to deal with it because they love the IP, so we're making like a like structure, some type of guidebook for our mobile services, like, and DNA is going to support the games themselves or through maybe the third-party developers like Niantic in Pokemon's case. And that's what I'm hoping for. And that's what would make sense to me.
That's a good point. Like they really have had a lot of products come out that it seems like to the average consumer or anybody that uses a lot of these, like a lot of the choices seem very obvious. Like of why did you do something this way? Like they almost need like a proper consulting firm to be like, all right, like Nintendo to come in and be like, this is what we're going to do. And then have somebody else go, this is why this is a bad idea. Or this is how you could improve it, I should say. No, that's a good point, Odell.
I really don't think this is about mobile games. The more I think about it, I think they're done with those. I really do. There were the reports about a year ago that they were stepping away from mobile. I really thought Nintendo and the microtransaction model never really fit together. And I think they felt the same. There were those other reports about them telling the devs of Mario Kart Tour, hey, tone this down a little bit. And they were like, if we do, we're not going to make any money. So I don't think it's for mobile games. The more I look at just this quote, too, that says, operations to strengthen the digitalization of Nintendo's business, I think that they want more digital sales than physical. I think they're really trying to push people more towards the eShop. Maybe it's something like an eShop revamp on the hardware itself, because that has been a disaster since launch. We were like, it's going to get updated. It has gotten like, one update? Like, there's almost no changes to the eShop since launch. Its searchability is terrible. Its discoverability is awful, too. Like, it's like, here's the 30 best-selling games. That's really the only good page to go to. The featured page is always just first-party games or partnerships Nintendo has with third-party and indies to promote their games on that featured page. And then it's the best-selling. Search is a mess. The top deals is a mess because there's no curation of what goes in there. If anything's on sale, it pops in there. So what you'll see is companies will be like 99% off, and it's like a penny, and it's there, but it's shovelware. I think they're working on the eShop. I think that's what they're going to do.
Here's what I want them to do. Do what the GameCube did with the GBA, but make that integrate with like any Android phone and any iPhone. Like have those weird, quirky features like Four Swords Adventures and Toadstool Tour and whatever else you can think of, and do that with the Switch with
or do it with another Switch. Which is what I've been wanting forever.
Or do it with another
I
Switch.
wish the numbers I said earlier, a third of current Switch buyers are previous owners. So that's like 30 million people that have multiple Switches in the household, unless they're trading in. But I think there's a lot of households out there that have a Switch Lite and a docked Switch. I'm one of those households. I would love if they were like, here's Nintendo Land, and you can play it with your Switch Lite as a gamepad.
I mean, we're getting to a point too. A lot of launch Switches are like starting to die off. It's mobile hardware. It's not like the NES.
Don't listen to them, baby.
That I can still
going
fire
strong.
up. But like, so a lot of them do need repairs or they need new batteries. Like the lithium-ion only lasts so long, unless you're the Game Boy SP. That thing will run forever.
All right. Before we leave this topic, real quick question, Logan. Like, I'm not saying you're wrong. Like, they do need a overhaul of their online system and stuff. But what would DNA get out of it as a mobile company? Like, I feel like, I'm not saying they couldn't do it, but I feel like they would have to be in it for some type of mobile aspect as well. They wouldn't be like, we're giving up our bread and butter just to be a UI fixer.
I think they're making a mobile app for the shop. I think that they're going to make, like Chris said, Splatnet 3 for future titles. And I think that the money they'll make is this joint investment from Nintendo. I mean, it's a company. It's a Nintendo company, right? It's not just a partnership with this company where they're like, we need a cut of these microtransactions, right? If Nintendo sees some revenue from this eShop or whatever they make, the people at DNA are going to see some of that. So I think that's what it is. I feel pretty good about that now, actually. What do you think it is? Email us, Boardroom at gmail.com. Let us know. What is this new partnership with DNA? DNA is the sponsor of my favorite Japanese baseball team, the Yokohama DNA Bay Stars. Yep.
Ah.
Yeah.
Well, all right.
What is their mascot?
It's a hamster. It's
that's awesome.
Yeah. Okay. All right, we got one more thing from the financial results before we move on, and that is that Nintendo hasn't officially ruled out a price increase. So this is very, very vague. But basically, at the financial meeting, they were asked if they were still considering a price hike or not. And Nintendo said, we're not implementing one right now, but they are carefully considering if the company needs to take the option. And then you look elsewhere in the industry, the Meta Quest 2 had a $100 price hike. The PlayStation 5 had like a $50 price hike, and basically every territory in the world except for America. So then people are asking Nintendo, is this going to go up? Right now it's not, but that is something that could change. Personally, I have a hard time seeing Nintendo do that. They are such a family, kid-focused company. I have a hard time believing that they'll up the price. At the same time, they don't historically sell hardware at a loss. So if it does get to a point where it's so expensive to manufacture these things, maybe they do bump it up. But man, what do you bump it up to? Like $400 for a Switch OLED? That's not cutting it when you can get a PlayStation for that price, or an Xbox Series S for $100 less. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I'm feeling it will, if they do, it'll be something manageable, like no more than $50, and they'll probably throw in a free game with it.
That would be nice. OLED for $400 with a game bundled.
Yeah, but I don't see them this late in this life cycle. I think if anything, we just don't see a price cut ever. I think it just stays where it is, and then whatever the next console is comes out, and that is more than whatever the current SKUs are now. Because I don't imagine whatever the next hardware release is going to be, if it, which I hope it is, if it's more powerful hardware, that they do it for any cheaper than what they're doing today.
Oh yeah, I think the next Switch is going to be $400 minimum. If it has a 1080p panel and some sort of improved power under the hood with the new NVIDIA chip, and maybe 4K upscaling, 1440, maybe unknown. You don't think so?
No.
Wow, man, that's the realest thing I heard all day. Like, there's okay. How about this? It won't have true 4K. It'll have like what people was claiming was 4K like 2-3 years ago. How about that?
No.
Oh, not even.
No.
I think it'll have a 1080p panel, though.
I think if we're lucky, it'll have a 1080p panel, and I think they're going to target rock solid 1080p at 60 FPS. And I think
that would be awesome.
I think that's
I would play
fine.
on that for a decade. Yeah,
I'd
never get tired.
The problem right now is like so many of the games that they're putting out that are like, it runs at 600p and at 24 frames a second. It's like, no, like we're beyond this at this point. Society has moved on. Join us.
I don't think we'll see a Switch price hike. It's just maybe the next console is $50 higher than what they've been internally targeting.
Yeah.
Quick question, Chris, though. Do you think it'll be able to run games like Street Fighter 6 just as good as the competitors?
Oh, yeah. I imagine it won't be as powerful as a Steam Deck, but I could see it being like a little bit less. The weird thing with the Steam Deck is like, because it's so open, there's so many settings that you can kind of tinker with. So it's kind of hard to get it. Like if you're docking a Steam Deck, like it's hard to get that to like a sweet spot. But because you're working within the limitations of like on a Switch, at least you're working within the limitations of that hardware, like third-party companies are going to know what they can build around it. I mean, they're already putting Street Fighter 6 on the Switch.
Are they?
Yeah. Yeah, right.
I missed that announcement. Wait, are they?
I'm pretty sure.
You keep going. I'll be that guy.
I'm pretty confident they are, because when I saw that, I was like, this seems like a real bad idea. But
it's not even coming out on Xbox One.
Yeah, there's so many games like Plucky Squire. That's another one that to see that game like run on next gen hardware. It looks like it would be very taxing for a Switch, but they've managed to figure out It Takes Two just released on Switch.
That version looks a little rough.
That's what I mean. They're all that way at this point.
Tunic is at 30 instead of 60.
Yeah, like they're all.
I've been playing it.
They're all these compromised releases, but
I'm not seeing any official sources saying Street Fighter 6 on Switch. Chris, you can't be that guy and then give us a fact that's not true.
I'm like pretty confident that I saw that, but I'm gonna look. I'm gonna look while we're moving on. Okay. But yeah, the last point I want to make is mobile CPUs have come a very long way since, and integrated mobile GPUs rather have really come a long way since the Switch originally launched. Really, the Switch hardware is the same as what's in like an NVIDIA Shield, or very similar to what's in NVIDIA Shield, the set-top box that came out around the same time. I think if they partner with somebody like AMD, they have a much better shot at keeping that price point low, because NVIDIA's been insane with their pricing schemes lately. But I think there's too much brand loyalty between those companies that I don't know that they would actually do that.
Yeah, and there's those documents that leaked that said there was another, basically the same code name as the Switch's chip, but with a 2 by it. So it's like, well, that seems like that's what's next.
Yeah, that was a while ago, though.
Yeah. That was this year, I think.
No, that was like over COVID.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it could still be. It could still be that chip.
Apparently, I'm a dirty liar, and Street Fighter 6 is not coming to Switch because I don't see it on the site. So I don't know where I saw that, but
in a dream.
Yeah, it must have been. I thought I talked about it on platformers, but
then I would literally buy it on Switch and just film my Switch just like becoming a microwave.
Yeah, that thing.
Especially with a fighting game like that, you can't do any cloud game nonsense like they're doing with the Resident Evils. Those are Capcom games coming to Switch. The like Resident Evil remakes and
those are
cloud-based.
You could say that.
Yeah, I'm bailing you out. I'm saying it's a Capcom game. That's what you were thinking.
That had to be it.
You know what's crazy? Street Fighter 4 was not that bad on 3DS. That still blows my mind.
It's a launch game.
Yeah, it was a launch game. One of the first ones I got.
I knew someone in middle school when the 3DS came out that we lived like 4.5 hours away from the Oregon border, where there was no sales tax, and there was sales tax in Washington. And he had saved up to buy himself a 3DS, and his parents were like, "Yeah, we'll drive you to the store." And then they drove him to Oregon to buy it where there was no sales tax.
We do that with Delaware.
You paid more on gas? It's a 9-hour total trip. I bet you paid more on gas than you would have on
That's
sales tax.
pretty far. I wonder if his parents bought something else. We do that with Delaware all the time. Not that, unless people that the IRS is listening, then I never do that.
Never. And you never emulate games.
You never emulate games you don't own. Look, there's Earthbound. Behold.
That's true. It's right there. Okay, let's talk about the Nintendo Switch Indie World presentation that happened earlier today, the day we're recording. 25-minute indie game show. There was a lot of cool stuff in here. There was Rogue Legacy 2 out today, a game about arranging household objects, also out today, a game about improv theater, which is coming on. I thought that game looked really cool. But the highlight for me and the main thing I want to talk about is Sports Story. Oh my gosh, guys. I am thrilled this is finally coming out. Golf Story is legitimately a top 10 Switch game for me. Came out in 2017. It was one of the first Switch games I owned. It was like August of 2017, so just a few months after launch. I love that game. It is laugh out loud hilarious, and it takes a lot for me to like laugh out loud in life or in a game, actually. I'm a fairly stoic man a lot of the time. But that
really? Never would have guessed that.
No, really? That game has laugh out loud, right? Just makes you do incredibly wacky things like solve a murder mystery, fight against a witch, play disc golf, all these funny things. Sports Story is finally here. That trailer is bonkers. There's like 10 different sports in Sports Story, along with all the other stuff, like hanging out at the mall was one that they said that looks super random and fun. And it's out next month. I can't wait. I cannot wait for that game. It looks great. It has a shot to be my game of the year if it's as good as Golf Story, which is so good. Chris, what was your highlight from this show? And do you have anything to say about Sports Story, the true highlight?
Sports Story, I'm very excited for. I enjoyed my time with Golf Story for sure. I feel like it was so long ago that I don't remember a lot of it. And we've been waiting for this game for so long that I'm kind of like,
years.
Yeah, I'll probably wait for this to go on sale to pick it up. I could see this being like a March or April game. That being said, I thought the game, because I was a musical theater kid growing up, I'm very intrigued by that game. I don't think it's
Once Upon a Jester is the title.
Once Upon a Jester, thank you. I don't know if it's going to be very good. I think it's going to be a very, like, you either are all in on this or you're not. My only concern is that, like, it seems like the plot is kind of all over the place. It's like it could have just been like, you're trying to be a theater kid, and instead it's like, no, you're trying to steal a jewel and you have to get to this traveling theater company. It's like, okay. The other one I'm very excited about is Have a Nice Death, That is one that
Yes.
fans of Hollow Knight have really been they've had their eye on it. It's been in early access on Steam for a very long time. And I think it'll be right at home on Switch. It'll probably look great on the OLED because there's a lot of just like very dark, very contrasting scenes in that game.
That game looked really cool.
Yeah, I'm very excited for that. I'm glad it has a date too.
I thought this was like the strongest indie world in a long time. Like usually there's not too much I'm interested or I tend to think a lot of the things in the indie worlds kind of blend together and have a very similar vibe. Like a cozy simulation game is usually like half the things in these things, which those are great, right? But I thought that the variety of genres and art style and like,
do you like farms?
And they were all around the world too. This truly was like indie world. There was a ton of devs from all over the globe. I thought this was a really strong show.
Oh,
Odell, do you have anything that you liked?
Yeah, so I guess I'll finally play Inscription because, people keep telling me it's like one of the best games ever made. So I was like, all right, cool. December 1st, it could be my winter break game. There we go. Because I have a list of games I'm going to play over winter break. I can add that to the list. And I was really interested when I first saw it, and I'm even more so interested in now. And I'm sad that more people aren't interested in it, or at least not that I'm seeing, but Blanc. I'm really digging the art style. And I'm probably going to cry, or at the very least tear up in some capacity over the course of the game. But like visually, it just looks stunning. And one of my favorite things about games, I love games that this could only exist as a game. And Blanc seems very much like a story and experience that can only exist as a game. So I'm all in it.
Valentine's Day when that comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah.
I thought Pepper Grinder looked very cool. That's a new like pixel art action platformer published by Devolver. Looked really, really cool.
Oh, that looked
really
cool.
Fast drill combat where you're like drilling through the ground. Coming up under that one looked cool. And then there's another one I liked. Space for the Unbound I thought looked interesting. That's the one that takes place in like, what was it? 1990s Indonesia and was like love story / like supernatural alien threat. I thought that looked cool. That was kind of my vibe. Kind of Earthboundy vibe. So
yeah.
Great show. Sports story next month. Man, I'm screwed for next month. There's 3 big games I want to play all coming out. I want to play Dragon Quest Treasures. I think looks very cute and fun. I want to play the Crisis Core remaster that's coming out on all platforms.
Oh my god, I keep forgetting about that.
Man, people keep freaking out about that. I will not be playing Crisis Core because I've had it on my PS5 for the longest time. I'm finally going to play through Retrograde. I know it's not called Retrograde, but every time I look at it, my brain reads Retrograde.
Intergrade.
Oh, what?
Intergrade.
Oh, Intergrade.
Intergrade, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm finally going to play Final Fantasy Remake Intergrade. Finally going to play through that. I'll have time now. But I might play through Crisis Core.
Chris and I love that game.
What?
Final Fantasy VII Remake.
I really like that game, but I haven't finished it. I watched my wife play it twice. And I need to get further away from it. I think I'm getting close though. Like
I'm one trophy away from the platinum.
Oh, wow.
And I don't think I'm going to get that trophy. It's basically do the boss rush and beat like the super secret, super only unlockable on hard mode boss. And I'm just like, you got to fight like all your summons to get to it and all this stuff. And I'm just like I was doing it, but then I stopped playing. So now I'm like, I think I've lost all my skills and I would have to like play for a couple hours to get my skills back. So I would be able to even accomplish it. But I'm just like, it's 1 trophy. 1.
I'm only missing 2 in the original version for PS4, and it kills me inside. I need to take Barrett on the Gold Saucer and get Aerith's last limit break, I think it is.
All right.
Yeah.
Non-Nintendo. That game, the original is on Switch.
It is on Switch.
That's okay.
You can play it.
It's all right.
It's the same
Crisis
version.
Core is going to be also. I don't know how that game's going to look on Switch. We'll see. One game I'm not playing on Switch, but is on Switch, so we're going to talk about it. Sonic Frontiers is out. If you're watching the video version, I'm wearing my Sonic 25th anniversary shirt, which I love. It was a great year for Sonic. Sonic Forces got delayed that year. And then
it's a great year for Sonic. A terrible Sonic game was delayed.
You see what you did there.
Yeah.
You see what you did.
But this has been a great year for Sonic. We've got Sonic Movie 2, which is very good. Sonic Origins had a lot of problems. I liked it. I thought it was fine. And then you got the cartoon coming on Netflix. The comic is running strong. And now Sonic Frontiers is here. It's the one that had the most question marks. Reviews came out earlier this week. It's got like a 73 on Metacritic, which for Sonic game terms, that's about as good as it gets. So I was pretty happy when I saw that. And I am 12 hours in now. From the time I made this doc that says 10 hours in to the time we pressed record, I played 2 more hours because I am just absolutely obsessed with this game. Context, I'm a huge Sonic fan. I have played every 3D game to completion, even the really, really terrible ones. So
you beat Sonic in the Black Knights.
Yes, I did. That game's like 2 hours.
Yeah, game is not
really,
long.
Really short. The worst one is Secret Rings, where it doesn't tell you which missions you have to complete in order to beat the game. So you just have to look up the path online. It's like, do this mission, then this, and then you beat it. Otherwise, you're just like, why am I not progressing? Anyways, Wii exclusive, Sonic and the Secret Rings. Sonic Frontiers. It's really, really ambitious, I think is the word I keep coming back to. It throws dozens of ideas at the wall. About 50% of them work. But when it works, it feels phenomenal to play. Sonic feels great to control in this open world. Basically, the gameplay loop is in each island, you need to collect the 7 Chaos Emeralds to become Supersonic and take on the boss of that area. But to do that, you need to collect gears to go into these cyberspace levels, which are like traditional 3D Sonic levels. And that's where you earn keys to unlock the Chaos Emeralds. So it's like fight bosses in the overworld to earn gears, use the gears to unlock the cyberspace levels, complete the cyberspace levels to get keys, use keys to get Chaos Emeralds. Once you've gotten all the Chaos Emeralds, fight the big boss. And there's like 8 other collectibles thrown in there. It's very Donkey Kong 64 in its level of collectibles. There's an insane amount. There's too much. There are memory tokens, they're called, in each area, which you need to get cutscenes to progress the story. And then there's power-ups, so like you can increase your defense and offense by finding these seeds around the world. It's a lot. The economy system is positively broken. It is, because Sonic has this ability, you've probably seen it in the trailers, it's called the Psy Loop, I think. It's when you create the little blue behind you and you run in a circle, and then rings pop out. Rings pop out, but what can also pop out is pretty much every collectible in the game, and there's no limit to how many times you can do it. So if you wanted to, you could stand in the same spot, run in a circle for 30 minutes, and get everything you need. It's not fun, though. Fortunately, traversing around the island is fun, but it's what you'll actually want to spend your time doing in this game. I really like its world design. Yeah, it's just plopping a bunch of Sonic obstacles all over the place, and you complete the little puzzles, do the little timing challenges with homing attacks and wall runs and fighting enemies, and it's just fun. It feels like a little bit like Spider-Man's open world, a little bit like Tony Hawk, a little bit like Mario Odyssey, a little like Horizon Zero Dawn and its enemy design, a little bit like Returnal with some of its story and creature design, like Breath of the Wild with its music and the tone it's going for. Like, it is just a mash of all these recent AAA experiences that creates something just super weird that I think a 70 is very fair on Metacritic. It's a good game, has a lot of flaws, but I'm personally loving it as a Sonic fan. Odell, I think you're going to love this. Chris, I don't think you'd care for it. Like, that's where I'm at. I think Sonic fans will love this game, and that's what I'm largely seeing. I'm seeing on Twitter, Sonic fans are in love with Sonic Frontiers. I don't think it's going to bring anybody in that's not a Sonic fan, because it's got its classic Sonic jank. Like, I don't think that's just a part of the series. When you're dealing with a character this fast, that speed is the name of the game, you're going to have jankiness and bugs and things like that. It's really great. And the combat's better than I thought it would be. I thought the combat would be really button mashy and bad, but there's some cool combos, some really cool moves you can pull off that you unlock with skill points. Like, yeah, it's fun. It's a broken mess, but it's fun. That's how I feel.
You know, this is how I feel about Sonic. Like, I love Sonic, just as well. There's a poster above me.
Yeah.
I have statues of him. Not gonna go get it. But I love Sonic, and I love Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 dearly. I personally like 1 better. I get why most people love 2. I get it. But I always feel like Sonic is just such an iconic character, and I always tell people, I don't care what you say. Grinding was not a biggest thing in any video games period until Sonic did it. That you cannot look at grinding in video games before Sonic Adventure 2 and look at grinding in video games after Sonic Adventure 2. Trendsetter, that's all I'm saying. But I feel like Sonic has always never been like, this amazing 10 out of 10 experience. It's been janky and stuff, but I'm glad to hear it, because it makes me feel like you're just getting back to what people just love about Sonic games. And if we keep doing that, I thought Sonic was in this rut for a while that people thought you had to reinvent the wheel. Like every time they made a Sonic game, I was like, but why though? Like
it always had a gimmick.
No one was really, no one's really asking.
Yeah,
no one's really asking for that. Like, I mean, if it worked, cool, but it never had to. That people were making out to be more than what it ever was. I'm like, look at Sonic Adventure 1, successful, relatively speaking. Look at Sonic Adventure 2, even more so. And then it was like, hell, even Sonic Heroes, still a solid game. And then it just like, I don't know what happened. It just, So yeah, I'm all in. Like I told myself I was not going to spend money I didn't need to spend before my trip. And I wasn't going to buy this Sonic game, especially if I wasn't even going to have time to beat it. Because what was going to be the point that I was going to buy it, spend money I didn't have to spend, and it'd be gone away for like a week and a half. And then be like, oh, let me hop back in. But also God of War is out. And also like I'm playing Pokemon. I'm like, I might as well just wait. Winter break.
This might be an unpopular take here, but this is just me. It's really refreshing to play a game that's like not super polished and like just is a video game.
Oh no, I get
like
that.
So many AAA games we play now, like God of War is a great example. The reviews are like 10 out of 10. It's the most polished experience. It's like almost a nostalgic thing to play this game that just has crazy popping and like these puzzles that don't make much sense, and it like kind of makes me feel like what it felt like playing Sonic games as a kid again, where it's like, yeah, this doesn't need to be super polished because it's fun. And that they nailed it. If this game wasn't fun, if it felt like a chore to do these puzzles or these obstacles, these courses, then it would be a totally different story. But they nailed the feeling of movement. It feels super fun to control Sonic in the big open areas. The puzzles are really, really easy, but they're so short that you're just off to the next one. When you complete a puzzle, you unlock that chunk of the map on your map. So that's how you open up the world to you. So you still want to do them. And it does this really cool thing where once you complete a puzzle, if you've completed the nearest one adjacent to it, it creates a rail between those two puzzles. So if you complete every puzzle on one island, you basically have a racetrack of rails. So you can grind around the entire island because you've completed all its puzzles. And it feels like Kirby Air Ride City Trial, the edge of the map had those like fast tracks you would go on to get from area to area. And you do eventually unlock a form of fast travel, but it's so fast that you can be like, oh, I'm just going to hop on the rail to get back to this area. And just like Spider-Man, you don't want to use the fast travel because it's that much fun to just get across the map. So they nailed that feeling of movement. Combat is better than I thought. Like I said, in most Sonic games, bosses they feel like a boss that Link should fight, or Mario, that they just plopped Sonic. And it feels terrible, right? It just feels awful. But they really tailored it around Sonic's movesets. One of the coolest bosses is like this giant robot mech butterfly that's flying around, and there's this like magic carpet tail on the end of it. And if you position yourself so you can leap down onto this magic carpet, the boss fight starts. And then you're running up using your boost, trying to catch the head of this monster while running on this magic carpet tail, dodging things it's throwing at you, doing all these different maneuvers to catch up to it. And then when you get there, this platform forms, and then you fight it. There's boss fights based on the rail moves. There's boss fights based on the spin dash. Like the bosses are super unique, mostly really good. There's one very QTE heavy boss that takes like 2 minutes of the QTEs in a row. It is bafflingly long how many QTEs you have to do. You're holding onto this shark tail, and he's dragging you around the sand, and left, right, left, and it goes on about a minute too long. It's crazy how long it takes to do that. But like I said, it's just like, compared to Sonic Forces, which was the most cookie cutter, safe, boring Sonic game I've ever played, compared to this, which is super new, fresh, different, ambitious. It's like, I would take an ambitious game that falters in some of its ideas along the way than a super safe game that has nothing interesting to offer. So I'm here to say Sonic Frontiers right now, it's at least my second favorite 3D Sonic. Generations is my number one. It could pass Generations. That's how much I like it. Like I think it's really, really great if you're a Sonic fan. If you're not,
all right,
you don't need to play this. If you're not a Sonic fan, you don't really
I'll
need
play it eventually.
Play yeah.
Yeah, I will. I just, there's no reason for me to get it. I'm in the same boat as Odell. God of War just came out. I'm locked in. I'm only an hour in, and I'm like, yup, like this is what I want right now. Like sometimes you want the Brazilian steakhouse dinner, and sometimes you want Chick-fil-A. or Burger King or whatever. Like that's what I think of when I think of a janky Sonic game.
Yeah, super fun. And I will say, it runs really smooth. PS5 has a 60 FPS locked mode. It is locked, and it looks really good. Yeah, the pop-in is funny to me. Like, some people will be annoyed by the pop-in. Like, I'm sure it will bug Chris more than it bugs me. I don't care about it. I like the world design.
I feel like eventually I'll get used to it. Like, I thought, and Pokemon Arceus did this, where you would be playing the game, you don't realize how much is like pop, 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 like all over the map, or like just far off, like in the draw distance, because you're just focused on what's happening right in front of you. Sonic does move more quickly than that, so I don't know. It might bother me, but we'll see.
I had one instance where I was going really fast, and I was over some water, and I was doing these like platforming challenges, and at the end of the rail was a bounce pad. And I bounce off it. It's a diagonal one. So I bounce diagonally. And I'm like, there's nowhere for me to go. And then at the last moment, the objects pop in. I'm like, there they are. And then I do the homing attack to get to safety. That only happened the one time, though. Usually, by the time it's always there by the time you need to interact with it. That was the only instance that was kind of fun.
Wow.
But yeah, it is. The one thing I don't like a lot is the cyberspace levels, which are the traditional 3D Sonic levels. They're okay. They vary in quality significantly. Some are like Sonic Forces, where that's one linear line and take 45 seconds to complete, and you're like, what a waste of time. Some are more in depth, and they're like 3 minutes, have multiple branching paths, cool platforming challenges. Great. The thing I don't like about it, and it almost feels like Breath of the Wild, there's only 4 different... So far, I'm on the 3rd island of, I believe, 5. There's only 4 different biomes that these cyberspace levels take in. Green Hill Zone, Chemical Plant Zone, Sky Sanctuary, and the city one that we've seen in all the preview coverage. I hate Green Hill Zone. I've made it known on this show. I've been there like 7 times. And you don't know until you're in the level what it's going to be. So I keep hoping, maybe there's a 5th biome. Maybe there's something different. And then it's like, back in Green Hill Zone again. So that's a disappointment. And it's like, in Breath of the Wild, 120 shrines, I got very exhausted of the same visual design for all of them. I feel that here too, especially since it's one we've seen before, and it's the ones they keep going back to. Like it's the first 3 levels of Sonic Generations all over again, over and over and over. So that's a big disappointment. That's not a big thing, but yeah, I'd say it's a 7 out of 10 game that, to me personally, is like a 10 out of 10. Like it's everything I wanted this game to be. So yeah, if you're a Sonic fan, you probably already have it, but you should pick it up because it's a great game. It's a good game. I'll scale down from grades.
There it is.
It's a very good. It's a very good game. Yeah, broken economy though. Also, there's a Big's fishing minigame. If you just fished for an hour straight, you could purchase all the upgrades you would need for the rest of the game.
This seems very broken.
Max level yourself. Oh yeah, like it is incredibly broken. Yeah, you could fish.
Please do not patch this before I get the game.
Oh, and the other thing that's broken, there's a parry move. There's a parry move where you hold down L1 and R1, and it counterattacks any incoming attacks. And it really tries to push this as like one of the main core pillars of combat. But if you hold down L1, R1, like 5 seconds before the attack comes, the second it hits you, it's like perfect parry. And I'm like, I just holding the button the whole time. And like there's a boss fight where you're auto gliding through the air, and I was just holding L1, R1 because there were missiles everywhere, and it's like boom, parry, boom, parry, boom, parry, and then I beat the boss, and it's like, it's just broken. It's broken, but I like it for that. I expect that from Sonic games, and it's just hilarious to exploit the system any way you can. But yeah, it's a great time. It's the most fun I've had with Sonic.
I'm all about exploiting the system in video games. And honestly, I think it's a very video game thing. That's why I think it's so ingenious in Metal Gear Solid, which some are on Nintendo consoles. That like Kojima was like, hey, let's make it to where if they find these exploits, it's actually like canonical in-game things will happen. Which I thought just blew my mind at the time, like when I would discover those things. Like, hey, you killed the boss before you're supposed to fight him? Well, the game world will change because of that.
Yeah, that's cool. Sonic Frontiers doesn't do that. It's not that smart. But it's just stupid fun. It's just really stupid fun. Yeah. One of my favorite games this year. Seriously. I feel like Chris and I have been talking about this off mic sometimes, like where we're like just a little bit tired of modern games, and that everything is going for like this perfect, polished cinematic experience.
Well,
like to just have a.
It's refreshing to it's always like I'm a huge fan of the Nickelodeon kart racing games because they're completely soulless. Like there's nothing redeeming about those games, and I love them for that because there are so many games that think they are like the hottest thing since sliced bread, and you play them and it's like it's fine, like perfectly acceptable experience. Horizon. I think the Assassin's Creed franchise is the biggest offender of this. I have for years. It's like a game that's just up its own butt. It's just like, I'm so amazing. And, you know, so to play a game that's just like, I know exactly what I am, and that's fine. Like, I am a fine thing. And as long as it's just stupid and you can have fun, then isn't that why you're here? Like, yeah, it's always refreshing to find a game like that.
I mean, ultimately, I mean that
so much.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, isn't that why Nintendo's successful? Because compared to the, its competitors, its games are, and I don't mean this as a negative towards anybody else, but its games always feel like they were games before they were anything else.
Yeah,
they weren't here to be the next cinematic experience of evolution of storytelling. They were meant to be enjoyed first and foremost.
Yeah. Like I go to PlayStation for those types of experiences, those like big narrative ones. I don't go to Nintendo for that, and I don't go to Sonic for that.
It does have a story that I very much like, but I am deep in the depths of the Sonic lore, and it's actually like paying off some things that like were first mentioned 20 years ago. Very, very cool stuff. It's written by the writer of the comics, Ian Flynn. I love the Sonic comics. Yeah, it's great. It's not very well told, but it's great.
Sonic is basically a demigod in the comics.
What?
I was like, Sonic is basically a demigod in the comics.
Yes, he is. He's unstoppable. But yeah, it's just super fun. It's probably my favorite game this year. But yeah, not the best game this year, my favorite. It really does feel like a GameCube. And I saw Gene Park of the Washington Post say it feels like a lost Dreamcast game. And I mean, GameCube, Dreamcast, pretty similar vibes.
They're pretty close, yeah.
Really, like I was playing it, and before I saw that, man, this feels like a more like a bigger, more ambitious GameCube game, and that's when Sonic was at his best for a lot of people. Yeah. Those adventure games and heroes. So it's great. I might get it on Switch eventually, just to have.
Has anybody looked up gameplay of Switch yet?
It doesn't look terrible. It looks fine. It looks okay. It runs at 30, and there is still popping, but there's popping on all the consoles.
Right.
So it's not something unique there. Like it looks pretty okay. I watched like 15 minutes of gameplay before the show just to make sure. Like I'm talking about this game on Nintendo show. It looks proficient. Like I think if it's your only option, it's probably good enough.
You'll be okay.
But if you have anything else, you should play it somewhere else because it is a downgrade. But yeah, I think it looks all right.
Nice.
Yeah, not the disaster some people were a little worried it was going to be. Yeah, I think it's okay. That's Sonic Frontiers. I'm super happy about it. I'm probably going to have it finished by... I'm going to platinum this game. I don't platinum anything. I have 2 platinums. Astrobot Rescue Mission and Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout are the 2 platinums that I have on PlayStation.
Wow. I cannot say the same.
This game. Yeah. All right. We got to wrap up our show. Last thing, I already mentioned at the top of the show, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet spoilers are out there. I don't know what is up with the Pokemon Company, but they cannot keep a game under wraps. All of these things leak. So yeah, be careful. There's some starter evolutions out there, some more regional Pokemon we haven't seen. Something official, though, that was announced was that cute little treasure chest Pokemon, who I really liked. What'd you think of that one, Odell?
Gimme Ghoul, Gimme Ghoul, or Gimme Gold. Some people say Gimme Gold. I'm like, that's pretty much Gimme Ghoul, like a ghoul. He's a ghost Pokemon. It's again, I am never a fan of I gotta do stuff in Pokemon Go for my mainline Pokemon game, but I like his little shtick. It's cute.
Yeah, he's cool. That game, we'll be talking about it in 2 weeks' time. Next week is the big Wii U 10th anniversary spectacular. What is your favorite?
Oh, wow.
Did I cut out?
Yup.
Yeah, we lost you completely.
A whole lot.
What is your favorite Wii U game? Email us, toadstoolboardroom@gmail.com. And what's your favorite Wii U game that's not on Switch yet? Let's do that as a little bonus question because most of the good ones are. So email that in, toadstoolboardroom@gmail.com. We're going to be counting down the top 10 Wii U games on our show next week. And then in 2 weeks, we'll be talking about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Very excited. But that's going to do it this week. Another episode of the Toadstool Boardroom in the books. We're here every Thursday at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. Find the show on Twitter at ToadstoolBR. Email us, toadstoolboardroom@gmail.com. You can find Chris at
Shrives93.
You can find Odell at
Oda Harmon Jr.
You can find myself at Logan J. Plant. Thank you. Have a great week. We'll catch you next time right here in the Toadstool Boardroom.
Boy.